Hello. Now that we've learned a little bit about UIA and explored some of the available inspection tools, let's try writing some actual code with the UIA library. So first, let's define what we want to do. Today, we're going to write code that will click the calculator Windows number 5 button. But first, let's think about a little bit how we would get access to the number 5 button specifically. So here is a visual representation of UIA tree, and at the top of the tree is the desktop element. Then underneath that is the window elements, among which is the calculator window as well. Then inside that is the group elements, and inside the group elements finally are the actual elements themselves, for example the number 5 button. However, another window such as window 1 might also have a button named 5, and we don't want to click that. So we need some way to specifically get the calculator Windows button 5. So let's hop to the UIA main page, and if we open the wiki, then on the right hand side is the UIA tree and UIA main class tree options. And in the UIA tree is accessing the tree, and here we can see some of the methods to get the starting point element. So we need to start from somewhere. We can't get directly the 5 button. We need to first get either the root element or the calculator window element. So here we see that we have a method called getRootElement. We have a method for getting an element from a handle or element from a window. And there are some other methods to get the starting point element as well, which we're not going to look in this video. So here we see that the element from handle could be used to get an element from a window title. So let's open Visual Studio and inspect the calculator window first. So let's run UIA viewer and let's open the calculator. Start capturing, and let's take a look at number 5. So here we see that the number 5 button has an automation ID. This automation ID or identifier should be unique inside this window. So only one element inside calculator should have the automation ID of num5 button. And we can use this to find that button inside the calculator window. So let's hop on to Visual Studio and try writing some code. Here I have a template already made. I have requires AutoHotkey version 2 because we will be using version 2. And I have included the UIA library. And to get the calculator window element, we use the element from handle, which is inside the UIA class. So we type UIA, and to access the class, we use the dot and element from handle. And since we are accessing the calculator window, then we need to use its title, which is calculator. And if we want to be even more specific, we can inspect the window again. And here we see that the title is calculator, text is calculator, and process is application frame host. So if we right click this, we can copy this and use the process or the executable name as an additional criteria. So we are targeting calculator, a window titled calculator, and which is created by such an executable. Okay, so this thing should return us a calculator element. And as we saw when we inspected the calculator, this isn't enough yet. So what ElementFromHandle gives us is this element here at the top of the UIA tree when inspecting calculator. But we want to find this element right here. And to do that, let's copy automation ID with a right click. And we can use another method called FindElement to find that element inside the calculator window. So we type FindElement and we provide a condition to find it. In this case, we want the automation ID to be equal to num5 button. So we create a new object with a property automation ID because we want to target the automation property inside the element. And for the value of that property, we will use num5 button. Now we can use, this should return us the number 5 button. And since we want to click it, then we can use a method called click, which should click the element. If I press F5 to run it, it activates the calculator and presses F5, the 5 button. Let's try it again. And number 5 is pressed again. So we can disassemble this code a little bit. First of all, let's try making this. Let's assign this to a variable. So now this calculator window element is inside the calc_l variable. And we can use this variable in this next method call to find an element. And similarly, we can assign the number 5 button into a variable and use that to click it. So this still works. Yes. If we wanted to do some debugging, we could also use a simple method called highlight to draw a border around an element. So for example, we can draw a red rectangle around where the calculator window is. And we could put it at the end, so the calculator window is activated with the click first and then highlighted. Or if we wanted, we could highlight also the number 5 button similarly. Another way to do this would be to use the UIA viewer macro creator. To see how that would look like, let's open UIA viewer again and the calculator again. And let's show macro sidebar and select the number 5 element, button 5, and use the action click and add element. So let's look at the code that got put here inside the Visual Studio. Here we see that we also get ElementFromHandle with the same title and the same executable name, and the calculator window gets assigned in this application frame host L variable. And for this variable, we use ElementFromPath. This is a special function that uses the UIA path to find and click the element. So if we run it here in Visual Studio, we see that it also clicks the number 5 button, but it does so in a little bit different manner. So before, when we used FindElement, we used automation ID, but in this case, we are using the the path for the element. So the UIA path is in the left lower corner of the UIA viewer window, and this is actually simply a combination of searches. So what this does, it first finds the window calculator, the first layer of elements. Then it finds the next one, custom. So we see that every time I click here, the path gets a little bit longer. Here at the top, we see the path is empty. Then the next ones, we see that there's an X and a slash. The next one, we get a Q. The next one, we get an R, and so on until we get to the number 5 button. This uses this path uses the element type as a search criteria, and we can see that this path will always be less accurate than using an automation ID, because automation ID will always identify this specific element, but this path here, it might return the 5th or 6th button inside the number pad group. But if the number pad group order is changed, then we will get an incorrect element. There is another path though that we can use, namely if we right click on the path, we can also display a condition path. This will be longer, but it will use a combination of element types, class names, and automation IDs. So here we see that it first finds the calculator window element, then the custom element, then the group element, and so on until it gets to the automation num5 button element. And we can also use it inside the macro creator, and it will give us the whole path for it. Why this element from path might be better than FindElement, or might not be better, we will discuss in later videos. So this is it for this video. In the next one, we're gonna take a closer look at the starting point elements. Thanks for watching.